morning, everyone, and I just want to thank you so much. This is Queen's Court's Conversation. I'm so excited because I have a lot of positive energy. These beautiful queens around here, I thank you so much for coming. It's a blessing. I always say, if you're at this table, it's because God wanted you to be here. That's why you're here. And the reason why I want them also is because they're going to share a lot of inspiration and a lot of information. And it's going to be some provocative talk, I hope, so we can get the minds going, the juices flowing. So I'm going to start right here to my left, and you are.
Hi, I'm Tracee Gilbert, and I own an engineering and technology solutions company.
Thank you so much, Tracee, for coming. I appreciate it.
Yes.
So could you please tell me a little bit about that? Because I'm not really that technical.
Yeah, so we help organizations transition their systems to the digital age using advanced technologies. So artificial intelligence, blockchain.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Beauties with brains.
Beauties with brains.
Okay,
Yes,
now
yes,
that's
yes.
what I'm talking about.
Yes, and we bring that same passion and fervor to helping our communities and helping women and girls succeed in STEM as well.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
What inspires you to do what you do?
You know, I'm doing exactly what God called me to do. So I come from a lineage of pastors and creative people.
Oh, wow.
This is what God called me to do, to be an engineer. So that's what inspires me.
Okay, so I want to ask you something. So you said God inspired you. Now, as a small child, did you always love working with things and, putting things together and your technical part of you?
Yes, and I would say that's all I have. So I started in 5th grade in a science program and have been in one ever since. I've been in a special program ever since.
And the world needs a lot of beautiful black queens like you in science. That is so important because what you do is you actually help other children, little girls, realize that they can be scientists, and that's so important.
Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Next we have...
Well, greetings and salutations, ladies. My name is Ashli Johnson. I'm known as the hospitality sharpshooter. I'm the founder of an organization called Hospitality Hued, and I also am proud to share that I'm the inaugural executive director of the Marriott Swanson Center for Hospitality Leadership at Howard
That is
University.
awesome. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So tell me a little bit about that, because for the world that doesn't really understand the breakdown of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Marriott Swanson Center is brand new. We'll be launching in just a couple of weeks in August of 2022 at Howard University. This center was created by a very gracious gift from the Marriott family and the Marriott Family Foundation and the wife of the late Arnie Swanson, who was the CEO of Marriott International. They graciously endowed Howard University with a $20 million gift.
That's a lot of money.
Absolutely. To create a center solely focused on creating a pipeline of executive level talent in the hospitality industry, as well as creating the next generation of Black entrepreneurs in hospitality. So
that's wonderful. We need more Black entrepreneurs in hospitality.
Absolutely.
Because if you think about it, that is hard for us. If you go back generations all the way back to slavery, a lot of young people today don't want to do anything with serving.
Right.
They don't understand the importance that we need to see each other in these spaces, so that is awesome. So what inspired you to do what you do?
So I have always worked in the hospitality industry. I knew that there was something more left to hospitality. And I love that you brought up that piece about the historical context of Black folks in hospitality. I always say that hospitality, the origins of it, at least in this country, are indeed rooted in slavery. And the reason why so many parents and so many young people may want to stray away from hospitality is because the service piece is the only part that we know.
Yes,
we have historically not been at the table when it comes to the ownership and the business of service. And there are certainly fortunes to be made on the other side of the table. And so that's what we're exposing students to at Howard University.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And next we have...
Hi everyone, I'm Trina Love.
Hey,
I'm
Trina.
happy to be here.
I appreciate it.
I'm more of, and I feel great being here, and it's wonderful what you two ladies do. And, it's very encouraging and motivating. But I usually I'm in the entertainment side. I have a business called Love's Enterprises, which mainly focuses on entertainment, promotion, event planning, management of bands and things like that here in the DC area. So I network a lot with a lot of different promoters and DJs and just people in the entertainment industry. Secondly, I have Movers and Shakers in the Community, which is a community-based organization. I started that organization for more of our people to network, share business ideas, entrepreneurs, to help each other market their business and support each other's business in the community.
That's wonderful.
So those are my two major things that I do. I also do fashion corresponding, and I have done some radio. That's how I know Alice. So I love, networking, getting out and meeting new people.
And I appreciate that. That's really important right now, because I like how you said community. It's a community spirit. Again, like we were saying before, it's so important for our people, for us to work in a community space. It's so important right now. And so what you're doing is wonderful. And I like the word love anyway. Yes. Thank you so much. Next we have
Debra Falk.
Hi, Debra.
Hi, I'm a newly business owner, and I'm in the film industry. My genre mainly is documentary. And so the documentaries that I'm most passionate about is those for social change. I'm a graduate of George Mason University, and my third documentary was titled Queen Divine, and it was on my mother. She was a sharecropper, and she had quite the story, or she has quite the story, so it was well received. So personally, I'm working on a project, I can't even think, Exceptional Crowns. And I'm going to Harlem, New York this week, and Yvetta Petty, she's an entrepreneur. I don't know whether you heard of her, but she's been in Vogue and all the major magazines. She's international. So I started it because, number one, I'm passionate about telling the story, for social change, and it is in honor of my mother. She passed away in 2020 at 97 years young.
It was wonderful that you're honoring her memory by doing this. This is awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I will say that it's kind of daunting, although I've been in the media as long as I can remember. I started off as a documentary photographer. I'm retired military, 27 years. So that's how I got started. And if I don't want to take up all the time, but how I got started in moving film from just regular still shot pictures. My commander, one day when I was over in Iraq in the Middle East, he said, well, here, take this video camera, and I want you to take pictures of the soldiers going on different convoys doing great things. So that's how I got my start.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. And I'm going to tell you something. I love your hat. You rocking it, girl. You are a queen for sure. Yes. Thank you.
It's very inspirational. She's my mother. She's raised me in the military as a single parent. So she's been
she's awesome.
She's been very supportive of all of my endeavors.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of Katrina.
It's so nice to have both of you here. Thank you so much, mom and daughter. Just again, that's a testament about having good mentors. Yes, right? Yes, you're a Renaissance woman.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Next we have.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Naza, Shelley. I'm the founder and CEO of CarpeDM. We are an exclusive personal matchmaking service and dating app designed for singles interested in dating professional Black women.
Which is so needed.
We're doing work that we love, so I'm very happy about that.
And what inspired you to do that?
Need, personal need. I was dating and single in DC, and I was like, wow, it's really hard. Using these dating apps is ineffective, and there has to be a better way. There has to be a service for us. And then in looking around, like, there's literally no service for us. And so I thought I could be resolved that there's just nothing for us, and keep using what's out there or create something for us. And so that's what I set out to do.
And that's wonderful, because when you look at television, even though we are progressing in so many areas, if you look, there's still not a black bachelor or bachelorette, really. So when you said for us, that's really important because right now we are struggling. Our race is struggling with dating. Yes. It's really hard right now. And we're going to talk about that. So who are your mentors? I mean, do you have any mentors that?
Oh, so many. So many. I'm actually an attorney turned entrepreneur, so I have legal mentors that also encourage me to do my entrepreneurial journey. Clearly, my mother as well is like a huge mentor. She's a woman in business and a powerhouse in her own right. And then I have business side mentors as well. One of my mentors, her name is Smitha. Another, his name is Brian. And so I feel like one of my biggest passions is just connecting people. I feel one of the things I love to do is connect people, whether or not that's like romantically for love or just professionally, friendship, whatever it is. And so I feel like I've gotten a lot of benefit out of just being connected to the right people, even being in a room like this and just meeting new people. And so I feel like there's just so much to be gained from putting two people together that may not know each other. And so I feel like it's part of my purpose.
It is great energy. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And next we have Beautiful. How are you?
Hi, I'm glad to be here. First of all, excited already. I'm Marissa Mitchell, and I'm an anchor for Fox-Five DC. Good Day DC. So that's what I do professionally. But I've been in media as long as I've been working, and it's something that I've been attached to since the age of 9. Coming home, watching the Oprah Winfrey Show. And then the local news, of course. So I just love being in a lane where hopefully each day I get to inform, inspire, and maybe entertain a little bit. That's my purpose.
So going forward, there's a lot of things going on in politics, as you can see. So I'm going to ask you a question with this January 6th thing, because I was watching the hearing, not last night, the night before, and it seems like it's going on forever. So going forward, do you feel that Biden's doing a good job? Because a lot of people are on the fence with that.
Yeah. Well, I can't share how I feel personally. I have to be objective about it. But I will say that there was a recent poll that the New York Times put out with Sienna that said that a lot of people would not like to see Biden reelected or even run again for office. So that sentiment is out there. We know inflation is high. We have the war in Ukraine. So much is happening that people want to see a change at the top level. And we'll just have to see ultimately what happens. But I think more importantly, people have to get involved, not just with their presidential elections, but on a local level as well, if they want to see substantive change.
Yes, absolutely, because he inherited this mess. I mean, it just didn't happen. And so it's really difficult when anyone goes into power and those things happen and they are stuck with all this stuff, and then people say it's your fault when it was already there. A lot of stuff that they have to unpack and try to make everybody happy, so to speak. And so I feel for him, because he's a good person and he's doing the best he can. And of course we can always do better, but like you said, at the local level, we have to start there and work our way up with that, when I say Michelle Obama, what would you say?
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah, and that's politics aside. I mean, she's a history maker, a trailblazer, and I think a good role model for all women and girls. So definitely.
Absolutely. So if I say Kamala Harris, what would you say?
Courage. Courage, because she's a first for her, and there are a lot of things that she's going to encounter that no one else can say they did, and she has to figure that out for herself. So that would be the word that comes to mind.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And next we have?
Yes, I'm Ashli Parker. I am a couple of things at the moment. I'm a master's student studying global hospitality leadership at Georgetown University. I am a community builder here in the DC tech small business ecosystem, and I am also a startup founder myself.
Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful. So could you kind of break that down to the people who really don't know all that? Can you unpack a little bit of it?
Sure.
Like for me?
Happy to. So hospitality is in my blood through and through.
I love it too.
I started out as a barista in high school.
Oh,
in Prince George's County at a black-owned.
Yes. Okay now.
Yes. I remember it. I got my work permit and I said I'm gonna go work across the street at this.
Wow.
So it started there. Officially, I would say, with my professional career, but I've since opened up the National Stadium. I've managed President Barack Obama's 44th inauguration, or 44th inauguration, and I've just had a great experience learning about hospitality from the start all the way up to serving fine dining and really managing experience for ultra high net worth individuals in New York. And so when I came back down to DC, which is home for me, I wanted to learn about ownership. I think Ashli had talked about when you're in the educational space or when you have that experience on the operations side, you're not really taught what ownership looks like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I had an ownership bug. I was really excited to really dive into the entrepreneurial ecosystem here. I learned a lot. I was the first social impact accelerator for Seed Spot, and they do an amazing job at supporting tech social entrepreneurs, and so I just learned a lot there, but also how to make an impact as well, not just for capital's sake. And so I went back to school after a decade between my undergrad.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of discipline.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. But my program has been very supportive on the hospitality front and also on the entrepreneurial front. And so I decided to officially relaunch this concept that I have been working on for a while. And so I pre-launched it last month.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yes, thank you. And it's been an amazing journey, and I'm just super fortunate to be in the space that I am because I get to give back to the community that's also given to me because I create experiences for founders and venture capital investors in the space that I am. So I have my hand in a couple baskets.
Oh, you sure do.
It all comes together.
Yes, it does. We all do, though. You know.
Yes,
as women, we always have our hands in so many things. You know, we're like busy people. We do so much. So, what inspires you?
Ownership.
Okay.
I would say part of my purpose is definitely ownership for me personally, but also part of that is also creating ownership opportunities for others, which is my business model for my startup venture. It's literally creating owners and creating wealth for accredited investors of color, people that look like us, but may have been priced out of opportunities that have previously existed in the market, but we haven't had the access. So I'm creating that access for us.
And she is so desperately needed, right? Yes, so desperately needed.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We are. Yes. So I want to ask you, who are some of your mentors?
Well, the in real life mentors or the mentors in my head? My mentors, I like Naza and very fortunate to have a plethora of people that I see as mentors, advisors, sponsors, like literally, it's really the community, and that's why I'm so inspired to give back to the community that's really invested in me. But one person that has been immediately close to me recently is my faculty director at Georgetown, Dr. Erin Tucker Oluo, and she is absolutely phenomenal.
She's phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Co-sign. And then another woman who I've looked up to in the hospitality space is Miss Ashli Johnson, the owner of Salamander Resort and Spa and Salamander Hotel and Resorts. In addition to other things that she's in, she is a mogul among moguls, and it's a Black woman and just a human that I look up to for everything that she's forged to and forged through in her career, and I'm fortunate to have some proximity to her right now in a role that I've been granted to through my education at Georgetown.
Thank you. Wow, that's wonderful. So, does anyone at the table have any children?
I do.
I co-parent.
You co-parent? Okay. You have? Okay. You have one as well, right?
20-year-old son and 22-year-old daughter. My son.
Okay, all right. Don't make me feel bad. Let me see where you got those jeans from.
Yeah. But my son, he's interested in modeling, so he has an opportunity to model in Fashion Week this time around.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Wonderful. He has the opportunity. I hope he, follows through.
Yes.
And my daughter, she's a go-getter. She went to Morgan for engineering.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so they're great kids. I can't believe they're adults now.
Time is moving by. My son just actually turned 10 yesterday. So
happy birthday!
I say birthday to you too. Yes,
your birthday.
I gave birth on that day. Absolutely. So I have a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old.
Wow. Okay. So now I can go where I want to go.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do it. Yes.
Let's go.
This is a no judgment zone space.
Absolutely.
Everybody be themselves
Absolutely.
here. But so I'm sure everybody heard about that Sesame Street thing. And see, we're going to talk about how a mom feels from a mom's perspective, not from a political perspective as much as how we feel. Because see, I used to take my son to Sesame Place. I have 3 sons. And they've been to Disney World, they've done all the gamut, and I remember they would run up there to the characters, but the characters were really nice back then. Okay? So I want to ask you, now, looking back how we all saw that, how would you feel if it happened to one of your children?
So I have been knee deep in business ownership that I don't even know what happened in Sesame Street. So you'll have to tell me what happened.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. So it's been viral because Kelly Rowland started it. It's 33,000 people have actually talked about this on Instagram, all over social media, about how, what's her name? It was a Spanish girl. Rosita. Yes, because mine loved Elmo and Grover and all that. But Rosita was very rude to a child, a small child, and he went to reach for her and she was like, no, I don't want to. And so what they did was they looked at all the characters and the characters kept ignoring all of the beautiful brown children. And one actually pushed the stomach and knocked the baby down on purpose.
So I think everybody around this table has that story. I mean, in some regard, in one way or another. And that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. So I would say from my perspective, I think it's what we experience as Black and brown people. It's unfortunate, and I don't know what happened after that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have an opinion about this? No?
I saw it. I don't have children. I have two nephews.
Okay.
So this was a tape broadcast or at the Sesame Place?
Yeah, it was like people, it's a parade, and some people had cell phones because people are like filming the parade. So it was 2 Black little girls, and one tries to go up and give a hug, and this is after he had just hugged like another white child, and then he's like, no, to the kid, and then so they were like, oh, it's a misunderstanding. So then they started to get footage from everyone.
We know it wasn't a misunderstanding.
And then they started to see the trend where she's talking about that it was kind of like a trend throughout. I kind of feel like in today's age, you can't really stop people from being racist. You can't really stop them from being biased. But don't have me spending my money in a place that doesn't want me there. That's my thing. I'm like,
that's in general, right?
That's in general. So that's what really grinds my gears is that like this mother has brought her children to this experience, has paid money just like everybody else, then for her children to be treated that way. And so and it's just, it's unacceptable completely, but we have the power with our wallet to go to other places, but we need to know, right? So to me, I'm like, if that's the policy of the establishment, okay, let us take our money somewhere else. And unfortunately, a lot of times we don't know until an event like this happens, and then we can kind of try to mobilize to maybe divert our dollars to establishments and places that really want us.
That was the first thing that came to mind for me, is that I think this is such a valuable, teachable lesson, not only for the children, but for the parents. Where are we being intentional about spending our dollars? Now listen, I just found out about the Gracie's Corner, but Gracie, pop everything, okay? Gracie has it going on. So I I think that we just need to be more intentional about where we're spending our money, who we're spending it with. And so I think it's so unfortunate that so often we get video footage and evidence of something, and then we don't know what to do with our data, right? And so, no, to your point, I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Well, the power of the media, that's why I enjoy being a part of it, because it tells a story.
Yes.
And not to get off topic, but think about George Floyd, no one had that cell phone, that media. But I look at management in a sense, and that's poor management, that's non-sensitivity training, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I just wonder what is going to happen to this woman, because you're going there, like you ladies have said, you're taking your child, you're spending your money.
Yes.
You know, what does the company management have to say about that? They need to take some ownership in that as well, because I would think, you said it went viral or something?
Yes, it did.
I would think that it would be a hit against the company. Surely, you know, like Trina, I used to take her everywhere. We didn't go to Disney World, but I took her everywhere. And I told her, I said, no, you don't, you know, we're not going to play that role. You know, I'm a little bit darker than her. But I said, no, we're going to go places where we're treated just like everybody else. And my mom taught me that way. She said, no, you get to step in. If they look at you a different way, no, we're not there. That's not the place. But my mother would tell them in a minute, no, baby, I'm just like you. So it's unfortunate, because I think about the child as well. You know, because people are just, they don't realize that kids are impressionable. And I don't care how we're strong mothers, you know, mentors, whatever, but a child is a child, and you don't know what impact that would have. Yeah, we can tell our kids, okay, ignore it, but you don't know what type of impact that they would have on the child. So you have to constantly talk to your children, your nieces and your nephews, whoever, you know, you're mentoring or whatever. But that's unfortunate that that child had to go through that.
You know, quite honestly, that's one circumstance. You know, we experience racism. I can go back from, you know, graduate school, being a PhD student, and every workplace that I've been in, I've had to experience racism. So I think it's something that we also teach our children.
Yes.
You know, they have to understand, going back to George Floyd, you know, having a son, the conversations that we have are just different because we want to educate them. And like I said, that was one incident, but as Black women, as Black people, this is something we experience across the board.
All the time.
And also, I think, go ahead. Also, I think it's up to us as, you know, Black people as a community, when these types of things arise, like they had this that went viral at Sesame Place. But this has been going on for years, you know. But we haven't been speaking up like we should, and that happens on numerous occasions. You know, when we go to places and we're mistreated, you know, and there's racism and things like that that could happen, we still patronize that business. And it takes I guess, the brave person to come through and say, well, you know, I'm not being treated fairly. I'm going to make this go viral. And that's how, you know, things pretty much go, you know, now
Did Sesame Street come back? And
oh yeah, they've done like 3 apologies, haven't they? So what were the 3 apologies?
Yeah, when it's Sesame Place, they've been so careful. Sesame Street is
yes, Sesame Street.
That's right. Okay.
Oh, so now it's not the same.
Right.
And that was at the crux of this too, because the first statement came out in supportive of the character.
Yes.
You can't see over the costume. And when the other videos started surfacing.
Okay, we got to clean this up, right?
Exactly, and that's when they said they're going to offer some anti-bias training, because clearly it's running rampant throughout several characters there. I mean, that you can see that on the social media videos. So it's a PR nightmare.
It is a nightmare for sure.
But hopefully it won't end with the social media and real action is taken.
Yeah. An apology is good, but you can't unsee that.
Yeah.
You know, and to come back, you know, they were looking, you know, like, I just wonder if it hadn't went viral, you know, would they would really offer any type of opinion. So I don't want to take the whole floor.
No,
but I'm just thinking that, you know, we say, and Trina said that, you know, when will somebody step up? We collectively, you know, we have to talk to each other because it keeps happening. It happened in my mother's day. It's still happening, you know, still happening. And so until we come together, you know, solidarity, then it's going to keep on happening. And, you know, it's right there, like people say, the vote it doesn't count. Until you make your mind up to make that stand collectively, you know, these things can't happen. I think if I was that mother, I would be pretty furious. I might have even said something, not curse her out, but I might have said, you know what, that's not cool. I mean, this is a child. You know, she's coming to you for some type of, you know, attention, love, whatever. She loves your character. You know, how do you feel about it? I would have asked her because I would have wanted to know what's your mindset. You know, what's going on?
I would have had to stop the show.
That's right. See, because Queen D would have done it differently, you know? So I'm just going to be honest with you. I am so protective of my children, and it's because whatever hurts them, it really hurts me deeply. Because like you said, it goes back into my generation and the generation behind. So for me, I would be the one going, oh no, this is not cool. And like you, I would be, shout out to Queen Kelly Rowland for stepping up to the plate. We need celebrities like her because when they speak out, people pay attention, you know, but I would have been just like her. I would have had to really go to social media. I would have been like, protesting and yelling to the top of my lungs until we got attention on
But you know,
this.
this also makes me think about, you know, S. Lovely and Ashli, like your comments earlier about focusing on ownership and why what you guys are focusing on is so important because it's not like one character. This is many characters, and this is systemic, probably in the. This is so. When you think about that, like who's hiring them, right? Like, and then who's hiring the person that's hiring them, and then like who owns the entire
culture.
So it's the culture thing, and so until we're in those positions of power, where like we're doing the hiring, we're like the owners, we're setting the company culture, we're setting those expectations, then it's hard to expect that there's going to be change. And that's the way that you see it even in venture. We need to talk about like who gets the money to start and run their businesses. You know, 98% of it goes to white men. Like 98% of all venture capital goes to white men because most venture capitalists are white men, right? So it all starts at the top and like who's setting the culture and like who's hiring who. And so hopefully when the company kind of steps forward, they'll not just think about let's sensitivity train the characters. Like let's look at our organization and how are we hiring people that all have a similar mindset? Because it doesn't make sense for us to look at one character and they're doing it and we go across it and that multiple characters are exhibiting the same behavior.
No, that's such a great point. It's always indicative to me. You know, I'm a researcher, right, by nature. And so when situations like this come about, I didn't even have to Google what leadership looked like, right? Because I already knew what it was because of the initial tone-deaf response, right? So if you had someone, or if you had significant representation on your board of directors or in leadership roles, somebody would have said, right? Maybe not this response, and it needs to be something deeper than sensitivity training.
Same thing. It's got to be a culture of inclusion.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've really got to, you know, identify leaders that are serious about being honest about what change needs to happen within their organizations. But I recently had a situation at a prominent downtown LA hotel where a black celebrity, I just so happened to see this as it was unfolding, was being profiled, right? And of course, as a celebrity, this person was like, why are you talking to me right now? Right? And so the subsequent conversations that came after that were, oh, Ashli, we're so sorry that you and your friend experienced this. Like, I don't know this man. But I saw what happened, right? And so the response was, oh, we want to give you a seat on our board. And we talked to the security company, and that security officer is never going to work this event again. Absolutely unacceptable, right? Because someone hired this gentleman. He received the same training that everyone else did. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest maybe you come up with 3 other bids of black or minority-owned security companies to now work this event.
To Ashli's point, though, I think that is a conversation about the type of ownership too. The type of ownership persona, the profile of ownership, because I'm personally a fan of not having there be a dissonance between ownership and then the end user customer experience, right? How engaged is that investor, is that stakeholder, that shareholder in the end user's experience? And I think we really have, and they could be black, brown, purple, yellow, whatever. But when you're explicitly looking at the returns and the cap and all of those things and not focusing on your end user's experience, you're then taking me for granted as a customer. And you're no longer investing in me as a customer when really you want me to stay. You save money when I stay in your realm of influence. So it will behoove all of the owners to ensure that they're more engaged in the day-to-day. And so I really think that we're kind of shifting away from this whole idea of a passive investor versus an active investor. I really think that it's, we're creating a new era where the engaged investors actually receive the higher ROIs because they're more in tune with the actual needs. And we know that when you know the needs, then that gives you an advantage.
Yes, it does.
And so I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Ashli and Naza were saying about that ownership style. It's really important.
Two things I want to add to that. You had mentioned, you were talking about management and changing, doing some, I guess, rethinking how you structure, how you educate people. But I still say that it starts from it starts from ground zero. Starts at home, or auntie, whoever raised you. Because, we can have management, say, okay, this is our structure, this is what we're going to do. But it starts from ground zero when we're raising our children, whether they're our own or whatever. The other thing I want to raise is the sad part about it is that some of us, we think it's okay. We accept it because from slavery, we've been conditioned years and years of accepting this type of behavior. Oh no, I don't want to, rock the boat. I'm not saying anything. I keep my head down. It still happens, sadly to say. And so why am I an angry black woman or I'm a troublemaker when I speak up for myself and see wrong? Why is that?
I get ambitious.
Overly ambitious.
Why am I overly ambitious? It's because I know right from wrong.
Right.
And you don't supposed to. You don't supposed to speak up for yourself.
Oh, I do.
I will flip this table over in love. All in love. Because I want the best for everyone,
But I think you had mentioned something about faces, colors, people within our race. It's not so much picking, the black person, just getting a black body in there. You have to look at their mindset.
Absolutely.
I mean, it could be, no, I don't think I,
And it's vice versa too. We may not know.
We don't know who's in that costume.
Absolutely. We don't know.
Absolutely. But where are you getting your money from?
Right. But I mean, actually, I was just had an incident just like 2 days ago. I was speaking to my son because sometimes we profile each other because you said that mentality. I have actually tested this theory where I have gone into a store and watched when my own people profile me and the other one gets away with everything and walks out the store. I'm like, well, what are you looking at me for? Do I look like I'm not dressed properly? Am I doing everything by the law? And you're still profiling me. And it's happened more than once, and I really got annoyed about it. So we even need to educate ourselves about how the media has actually even convinced us not to trust each other. And that's very sad when you think about it. It's propaganda.
And you know what? I want to take it back to the conversation about Sesame Place.
Sesame
Place. So
get it right now. Sesame Street. What's funny about that? What's funny about that is Sesame Street was an urban network in Harlem, wasn't it? Where it was supposed to bring unity and show diversity.
Right, absolutely.
And so I know that they're trying to separate. That's not us.
That's not me. Not me. But when engaging with people, I try to share. My partner and I really work honestly and try to work super effectively with sharing with our 7-year-old that, you know, there may be things that happen, but here's maybe the context behind it, and this is how we want to kind of encourage him to process and think through those things. Like there's never a Band-Aid, there's never just a lollipop, there's never just
you gotta prepare them.
Exactly. And so whether it be in the context of you just not getting your way or maybe something a little bit more extensive, it's, you know, really sitting down at the table and creating those opportunities and saying, how can you learn from this? Right. And so even when, you know, me as a grown woman, as an adult going into places and, you know, may have a little contingency, it's like, okay, this is happening. Now, how can I actually kind of create some resolve for myself, or maybe even for that other person in that space? And that's the same way that we try to support Silas and how he's learning and growing. Because I mean, that's really where it starts. It starts with the individual. Because even though we may be feeling something that may be a little bit contentious, we also have the same power to heal and resolve that. Now it's a little bit challenging at times, but I think even having the opportunity to pause and recognize those moments are just as powerful as whatever the solution might be.
And I want to say too, by being a dark-skinned Black woman, which I'm proud of my.
Yes, of course. You want to talk about that? But why do we do that to each other?
Well, you know, it was, and I don't want to get off topic, but you know, most of my, I come from a large family, and most of us are very heavy. Mahogany, and people used to say, "Oh, well, they're cute for a little Black kid, dark-skinned." That's a second-handed compliment. My mother said, "Don't accept that. We don't accept that." Sorry. So, but the thing is that, you know, we have division within ourselves, and we pit each other sometimes against ourselves, especially some of the. And I don't want to get off topic. Some of the women, because my brothers used to say, "Oh yeah, red bone." I don't know whether you know that term, red bone, light skin.
I heard that.
Yeah, and so like for you, you know, there's contrastingness between us. And so I have seen that people of your complexion are treated better within our race, more so than me. So it's a lot of divisions, it's a lot of education that we have to do amongst ourselves. You know, we have to talk, like you said, to our children, we have to educate and all of that, and it just really takes a lot of conversation amongst ourselves, because the community can't do it alone. You can't send your children to school and look for them to get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think it's an interesting new generation because my children are brown and they tease me about being light skinned. But they have a sense of love for themselves in a different way.
I love this generation.
I do too. I love this generation. So I think the tide is changing. Now I think there are still, so I just got back from Tanzania and it's really sad. Yes, it's really sad that they bleach their skin. They bleach their skin.
And the Caribbean as well.
Yes, yes. So we actually had a family over, and my girls, and actually, both of the mothers are light skinned, and all the girls are dark skinned. And they were talking about how they love their skin. And so I think it's, I think we still have issues. But I think the tide is changing.
For sure.
Well, let's talk about that, because this seems like a gender problem. I mean, would women really be conscious of their complexion if it wasn't for the men making them feel
this is slavery.
Or is it just
divide house girls?
Oh yes, separating us, the Willie Lynch law.
I think we might be more vocal about it. But I think it's definitely
started. But I have to say, I really celebrate that. I think we're in the season of Black women.
Yes,
and I love
absolutely.
that. I think this and the season. So I went to a historically Black college. It's a season for HBCUs and a season for Black people and a season for Black women. So I'm really celebrating and I'm walking into that.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
What is your take on Queen? Since you brought that up, okay, everybody's being called a queen now, and I look at, well, I'm just going to put it out there. When you hear someone call you a queen, you know, that's somebody's told me the other day, oh, that's just a term they're using to Black women. That's just something that's thrown around. Everybody ain't no queen. And But if somebody calls you a queen, how do you feel about that?
I see that as a term of endearment.
Yes.
So if somebody calls me, well, I have to first pause and celebrate the queens around this table.
Yes.
So when I look at each one of you all here, I feel a sense of pride. I feel a sense of purpose. I feel inspired. So I see that as a term of, now I don't particularly use that term, but if somebody calls me that, I take that as a compliment. But I'm on a new kick too. So I'm in a place of peace. I'm in a place of positivity. I'm in a place of enlightenment. So, you know, if all this other exterior noise that's going on outside of me is there. Because I'm here, I'm centered.
I think everyone has the capacity to be a queen, right? And so that's why, I mean, I don't necessarily use the term super frequently either. But I would certainly embrace it if someone addresses me as such. And I've even found, particularly working with young people, when I start addressing them as something higher than maybe what they are acting or walking as in that moment, it sort of calls them up a little bit higher. So aspirational aspect.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to answer. Oh, sorry. I wanted to answer that because I recently did a podcast with the men, and one of the reasons why one of the men actually came on my show, he said, because when you first met me, I said, "Hey, King, how you doing?" He said, "You said it so naturally that I walked with my head up high. It felt so good."
That's right.
He said, because the way you just said it. You know, and I said, well, it's easy for me to say. I said, because when I think of queens, I think of, and we all are queens. It's just that a lot of us just don't know it. You know, it's about behavior. You know, I think of it as an internal thing. It's about the feeling like luxury on the inside. That's right. So when you treat yourself with like royalty, self-care and everything you do, that makes you feel like a queen. And that's
words definitely matter. But I think Tracee and Queen D, to your point, there's something more intrinsic behind the words. You said how you feel, right? When you're at peace, when it's intrinsic. And so I think that that's the cultivation, because I could call somebody a king or a queen and not mean it. And then how then does that translate? That person won't feel like a king or a queen. But when you're centered and when you're at peace and you can exude that to others as well, that's a gift. That is such a gift. And I think that's what makes royalty.
And also that it feels natural, because it's like being called by your first name. You know, when you really buy into and embrace your queendom. And when we're all queens. And I heard something the other day and it said, don't set yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. Meaning, don't put yourself down to make somebody comfortable, but also don't blow yourself up to feel as though you need to fit in with somebody. Just be who you are. And I think we're in a time now where there's so much focus on the exterior. You see it, how people filters on pictures, whatever on social media, that we don't focus on what's happening within and making sure that that's intact and that's beautiful and that's lasting, really. The other stuff is flash in the pan. So I think once you are truly a queen, it's like, well, thank you. And then you keep it moving too, because like, to your point, somebody can praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. There's a thin line between love and hate. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But once you know who you are, it really doesn't matter what anybody calls you.
But the thing is that for years, and even still today, they don't, I mean, we are not in some of the magazines even today as the beautiful, you know, who's the ideal beauty?
I think that's changed big time.
I think that's changing.
Especially if you look at just stores like Target. Welcome back to Queen's Court Conversation, and I am so happy to have these ladies here today. We have unpacked a lot of stuff already, and we were talking just before the break about a lot of things, but one of the things I have wanted to talk about is dating. And I wanted to bring up a topic that was so hot for the past 2 years, and that was, God rest his soul, Kevin Samuels. And the reason why I wanted to bring him up, because we were just talking about dating and about women and how as Black women we have come so far and we're doing so many great things and that we're queens, but Kevin Samuels had a kind of a different take on that. And one of the things I want to talk about is how he has ignited this anger in a lot of African American men about his queens. And to the point where when I have kind of scrolled through, now that I've joined TikTok, all I see is a lot of anger. A lot of men complaining about us. And I'm thinking, hey, we're better than we ever been before. We are healthy, we are doing our thing, and we don't really need you, but we want you in our space. And now you're complaining. What's going on here? What's going on? You know, we're beautiful, better than ever. You know, so I wanted to know from you ladies, what was your take? Do you feel like African American men have now kind of soured towards us? And I'm going to ask the dating expert.
Yes.
So it's funny, we've had many a conversation about Kevin Samuels and his take on dating. And one thing I can say is, for all the vitriol and negativity that he spewed, and how I definitely don't advocate on for him, there's a kernel of truth that underlies a lot of the things that he says, which I think people resonate with. And so instead of being able to like intellectually parse and take like truths and leave like the trash, like people just take everything as a whole. And so that being said, for the most part, we've talked about this before, and I'm just like, we have to as a ethnicity, as a culture, like continue to evolve together, right? And in some respects, we feel like, oh, the black women are like evolving, you know, we're doing different things, and maybe men aren't doing as much. I disagree. I see that there are men that are stepping up and being fathers, that are more involved than ever in their children's lives, that want the committed relationships. We're interviewing these men every single day that are looking for committed relationships, and that exclusively date black women, right? So there's also a stigma that, oh, they don't want us. And so I think a lot of that, just going back to our former conversation, is reframing, realizing that none of us operate in a vacuum. We're all exposed to the media, to the societal pressures, to the ideas of beauty. And that we're all a part of that, right? Just like you may clutch your purse a little bit tighter when you see a black man walking, and you're like, why the hell am I doing that, right? That's because we're all conditioned, right, in the same society, right? So we have to intellectually think like and reverse all of that, that's been ingrained in us. And similarly, all that negative self-talk just actually is meant to divide us. I know. Because we are so powerful when we're together. The fastest way out of poverty is to be raised in a household with two incomes, right? The fastest way for us to get to generational wealth, the fastest way for us to advance as a society, the reason why there was the Tulsa bombings, the reason why they don't want Black Wall Street, the reason why they don't want us owning stuff, the reason why they put our men in jail is because there's so much power when we are together. So when we talk to people, we always talk about that there's reality in, you know, people not understanding the dynamic between men and women. Men are very visual creatures, and so women, we have a lot of value that is completely outside and has nothing to do with our looks. But if you want to get a man at a certain level, you have to invest in the way that you present to the world and the way that you're going to present to those men. However, men, we need to do some work too, to look beyond the physical and start to value some of those other traits that women are bringing to the table, and not looking at those as threats to your manlyhood, but looking at those as ways to complement, because other ethnicities are not having this conversation. And why not? Because white women are making more money than their men, you know, Asian women not so much, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there are ethnicities that where women are overachieving, but there's not this pitting against their gender, like men and women within that. They are still coupling up and procreating and kind of moving along. And so I think a lot of it is very divisive or divisive. And so when we talk about it, we just try to figure out, how do we bring Black men and Black women together? We're more focused on how do we get Black women with loving partners, no matter who those partners are, just because we deserve that. But we know that Black women want to marry Black men, right? We know how much we value them. And so I would just say, God rest his soul. And hopefully with that, his point of view, his point of view on dating, and hopefully we can all have constructive conversations on how do we bring ourselves together.
And I'll say too, I tell my daughters, the most important decision you're going to make in your life is who you partner with.
Absolutely.
So it is, to me, the Black family is often, well, through history, has been under attack.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the work that you're doing because
Yes.
it's beyond just making those connections, but it's building Black families.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we need to be and where we need to be going. Like you said, other cultures, they arrange marriages.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yep.
so it's just a different mindset.
And they understand
the
purpose
value,
and the power,
the
and
value
purpose,
of that,
right?
of
They
the family.
understand what that
Yes.
means.
And they groom for marriage.
Yes,
as well.
Yes.
absolutely.
Men and women.
Yes.
From what I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So do you think that our race is diminishing in that whole unity about marriage and
I don't think
because
so. I don't think so.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, to Naza's point, just
Yeah.
kind of getting past the visual
The
part of it,
visuals,
right?
that's the biggest.
On the more masculine side, I think it's a big piece because I think that both partners kind of want something on a deeper level. It's just like, how do you get
how to get
that?
past
Yes.
Because when you set that relationship up, typically
Yeah.
that's the condition that it will kind of take over the years. And so how do we make sure that we're creating starting points?
Yes.
You know, really healthy starting points,
Yes.
reciprocal and mutual starting
Yeah.
points, so that will be the tone that kind of carries
Yes,
the relationship. But yeah, I love the Black family.
I do
Yes.
too.
I'm here for it.
I'm all
Yes.
for it.
All
Yes.
day.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely. So my question then is, there seems to be a difference now with the age. It's kind of moving up.
Yeah.
So
Marriage.
for marriage
Yeah.
and having children. So if now every woman
Yes.
is getting married past the age of 35 and
Yes.
40, going into 40,
Yes.
where does that leave her? And I'm going to ask you.
Again? You know, the funny thing is that if you think about it, everybody's living longer.
Everybody.
Right? So
That's a
we're
good
not
plus
like
for us,
100 or so years ago or 200 years ago where everybody was dying at 30, right?
Yeah.
So when you're dying at 30, you probably want to get married at 15, right? Because you only have 15 years to
Yeah.
have kids and build a
Yeah.
family. Now we're living into our 80s. Women, you know, we outliving these men. But, you know, we're living into our 80s. And so we're taking better care of ourselves. There's so much more medicine that's keeping us alive, healthy, that's prolonging our ability to have children or have children in different means. And so that pressure to get married at a younger age is just kind of alleviated, and I think for good reason. When we talk to people, and studies show that 70% of singles, they want to get married and they want to have a lifelong partner. They're just waiting longer because they're trying to establish themselves. They're trying to live. They're trying to explore their lives. And we see the statistics of people who get married in their 20s and are divorced by the time that they're 30. I think that getting married later in life probably is actually better, right?
Yeah, you're more
chances,
mature, wisdom.
Yeah, more chances for you to actually have a marriage and a union that lasts longer. But it's another thing that I feel like we have to reframe. Like, we don't lose our value just because we turn 30 and haven't had a kid or haven't gotten married. Because men, they just get more valuable, right? They just get
Daddy.
The daddies get more
They can have kids at 90.
But I think that we have to couple reality and what we really understand with where we're trying to go, right? So for me, I'm always like, what's the evolution? Where are we trying to be in 20 years? What's the reality now? And what changes do we need to make right now to achieve what we want, right? So we know that we have to, have more ownership. I'm loving what y'all are doing.
Yes.
We have to have more ownership. Yes. We have to have, men that are getting into these high paying jobs. We have to have children that are being brought up and understanding the power of entrepreneurship, the power of giving back and keeping the Black dollar within our community longer. All of that, right? It alleviates a lot of pressure that we're feeling and allows us to enter into marriages. It alleviates financial stressors that in marriages and allows us to enter those unions and have a more long-term and happy union. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that play into why there's a changing dynamic in the age range, but I definitely think part of it is just we're living longer, right? And we're delaying kind of getting married a little bit too.
But I'll have to say, so I'll tell you all that I was not thinking about getting married or having children. I got lucky to be able to do it because I wasn't thinking about it. But I look at my age groups. I just turned 45 also when I was in
I'll take it.
But But I would say that my age group was the same way, that we never thought about getting married. We never thought about having children, and we pursued our careers. And now the people in my age group, they're still trying to have children.
Yeah. Shout out to Janet Jackson. Huh?
Yeah, but that's different. That's different because I see the reality of my friend circle. She's a billionaire.
Okay.
She doesn't have to work. You know, she has resources. She has a chef, which is different than a working person trying to have a child.
That's true.
So, and my mother told me to go see the world. That's what she told me to go do, and I did it. You know, and I don't regret
Bless
that.
her heart.
Yeah,
That's a great thing.
but in hindsight, I tell my children it's something that you have to think about.
Yes.
It is something that you have to consider because at 45, it's hard to have children.
Yes. How are you preparing?
It is.
Younger
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So you can
Yes,
prepare.
yeah.
If you want to go see the world, you can prepare to have children later in life. So my perspective has changed because, like I said, in my 20s, I was like, ugh, I don't want to get married. But I think it's something that we as women have to think about. Especially if we're, you know, career focused.
Yes.
It has to be something that we think about and plan for.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm going to say it's slightly different because I went into the military shortly after, at age 19. So you see a lot of families, like young families in the military, people get married, have kids. So that was like a different culture. So I got married at 20, a month after I turned 20. And, you know, after 20 years, you know, we're not together anymore. We have 2 kids. But then I got out and started dating again eventually. And I noticed it's, you know, still a lot of people that possibly are out there that are dating, that are really interested in relationships. They've probably been married before.
Yes.
So they've been married before.
Yeah.
I noticed men, and I discussed this with Uncle Wayne. We were just talking about my uncle. It was older men, 20 years older than me, that were really interested. And I noticed that it was either the 20-year-olds or the 50-year-olds. I'm 42. So,
Same
so
thing.
50,
Older
60.
or younger.
Yeah.
Nothing like in the middle.
Yeah, so
Substantial.
I know.
Gertie still out there.
They're out here having fun with 20-something.
But, you know, it was I wasn't looking to jump right back into a relationship, and you know, eventually I did. I have someone now that's great, but you know, it took a while. Him and I both, you know, experienced things, and that's what helps keep us together too, because of our experiences in previous marriages. And like Alice knows, Queenie knows. I was in an abusive marriage for about 20, you know, whole marriage. So for me to come out of that, and I help women and men that are going through it, for my kids to see all that, it's been a challenge. But now I feel good, and I can help uplift other people genuinely, because I feel great about myself. And it's a process. I'm still going through it, but I'm just glad to, and you know, I'm blessed to have great people in my life and be able to, you know, and my mother, my number one cheerleader. But you know, it was definitely a process. You know,
And our pain definitely births our purpose. So I think that's a beautiful thing that you can take your pain and help others. I think that's what we're all called to do.
I think it's also working on, and you touched on this, the self-esteem and confidence of our men. Because what I found is that I could be interested in somebody, but they think they don't have enough to date me for whatever reason, even reasons that don't exist. And so I think that maybe based upon their prior experiences with other women, they paint us all with a broad stroke. And even when you try to give them a chance, you realize, hey, this isn't going to work because there's too much there. I can't change 35, 45 years of trauma, you know, to be with you. So I just think there's a lot of healing that needs to take place for men and women in order for, in our community, for us to come together.
And just a little bit about what's actually happening, why the 30-year-olds or whatever are not getting married. There's a shift in like power dynamic, right, for men when they're entering their 30s, like they're entering like their prime, like, right, and so women, like when we're younger, that's like the hot era, that's like, you know, your 20s, like we have a lot of the power in like relationship dynamics. Older men are looking at us because they want to date younger women. Men in their 30s, like they've reached like certain career statures, they now have some money, they now probably have a house, and so they are actually in the position to really be choosy, right? And then they will get married, they'll enter into like their 40s, they'll enter into like the divorce era, and then they come back and like there's more power on the women's side again, right? Because those men are coming back, and one, they do have the benefit of being married before and understanding commitment and the value of it. So a lot of times going for a divorced guy is actually really smart and can really lead to the outcomes you're looking for. But that kind of plays into a little bit why like those 30-year-old men, they're kind of like feeling themselves a little bit, right? For various reasons. And
they don't want commitment.
They're not as focused on commitment, but those men are out there, right? And they are dating, but they're enjoying dating, right? And if that dream woman comes along, they'll make the pivot to for that commitment. But if not, they're gonna continue to have fun, right? With the resources that they're bringing to the table, and because they weren't able to before. So
well, in my situation, and I can speak openly. Me and Trina's dad, we didn't get married. And so he was very professional. He was a professor at college and all of that. And I was going to the college that, he was working at. And so he very educated, very smart black man, very handsome. But, we just couldn't click. And so it was some things that, and I had Trina at 19, and there's some things that went down that was not cool. So, but that was a good thing for me, because I didn't get married to my present husband until I was about, 40 years old or something, when I was in Hawaii. And so, but that was a blessing, because I'm saying that, no, you're not going to keep me down. So I worked 3 jobs. Trina would tell you I worked 3 jobs. I worked as a security guard, I cleaned houses, and I worked at a restaurant, because I would refuse to be on welfare for more than a minute. I was on there for a little bit. But that was a blessing. But then when I turned 40, I got married. I was very prepared. I married an officer in the military, and it's good. And he's a good person. And so, but to have kids at 40, for me, my mindset, no, I don't have the patience. I love the grandkids. I can send them back home. But so it's your tolerance level too. I hear what you're saying about, you establish, you're trying to get some things together. Some women want to have kids later if they can physically have them. But I know I wouldn't have the patience. But it was just a learning experience for me. We all, for different reasons, we wait or we want to get married right away. But I would suggest that, like you're saying nowadays, wait a little bit longer, get yourself established, grow up. But I don't know why some of our brothers are intimidated of our wealth and our status. Like I think about you, and I heard about you. You're very beautiful, like all of you. But your prestigious position, some of them are afraid. She's probably thinking that I'm not good enough. Or why would she want to date somebody like me? So.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not dating, but I've been building a number of professional relationships. And I would say last year I found myself in a string of bad relationships, in a string of living in a state of frustration, in a string of being more of a giver and not receiving. And actually I sought some help for it. And the greatest lesson that I learned in the help, and I still have the lady. I cannot let her go. Yes. But the greatest lesson that I learned in that process, that it wasn't about them. That it was about cleaning up in me. What I was attracting. And that's the work that I've been doing, and that's the journey, that peace journey that I've been on. That journey of just clearing up and cleaning up inside of me, that internal that needs to be beautiful, really beautiful, that I've been working on. And in doing that, it has changed my life. So it's no longer about what they're doing and what their statistics are and this and that. It's about what I'm doing. Who am I showing up to be in the situation? Absolutely. So I've been working on me. And as a result of me working on me, the new kinds of relationships that I'm
you are what you
developing.
attract.
I am. And
what you don't tolerate.
What you don't tolerate. But you know what? I didn't even know that I had these things going on inside of me.
It's non-negotiable.
Because I'm thinking that, this is what happened, and I'm doing all of these great things, and how are these people doing these things to me? but it was things in me I had to clean up.
Yes.
So the focus has been on me, and that really has been my journey on becoming my best self.
Yes.
And then I'm
Yes.
becoming my best self. I'm attracting the right kind of people into my life. So
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Women and men. You know, when they categorize everyone, I say we know less than 1% of the world, because we do. So a woman say, well, you know, this men ain't this, men ain't that, and I'm gonna go, you know, different race or whatever they may say, but they're not looking at themselves, and they're not taking the time to clean house, and finding out what they're attracting. Because I know with me, even after I got out of marriage, I was in another abusive relationship for a small period of time, and I'm like, this is what I'm attracting. I'm a, you know, nice, giving.
That's how I felt too. I felt the same way.
But
how are they treating me this way? All that I'm giving.
Right.
So absolutely.
Once I took the time to get to know me and love me for who I am, and I'm still got work to do.
We do.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
But I'm a lot happier. And I'm at peace in my mind. You know, and God is blessing me with so many things that I don't even question anymore. I just let God take control. He's taken the wheel when I didn't have that faith before.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I'm sorry, but can I jump in? Because I can witness, we had a beautiful conversation yesterday, and I thank God for that, because you know, as a mother, we love hard. I think somebody mentioned we love hard. And when she was going through that domestic situation, I'm thinking like, when I got pregnant, I had my baby. I carried my baby in love. I was so happy. I would dream about it. Her and then, nature. Yeah, and the night that I had her, you know, I was sitting in a rocking chair in the ward, and I had her, and the nurse came in. She said, well, we got to put her in the nursery. I said, no, I want to hold her. So she was always so sweet and so giving. She would give her lunch. And then to end up in a relationship where it's abusive, then it just broke my heart. I'm thinking like, what did I do wrong? I'm blaming myself. Was I not a good mother? I'm trying not to tear up. And was I not a good mother? What did I do wrong for her not to love herself? For her to feel that she is deserving of these type of people? But you were spot on when you said it's about me cleansing myself, because you had all these toxins and you were drawing these type of people, but you didn't even know it.
Absolutely.
So that's all I have to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Thank you for that. To your point, Tracee, I feel as though that not only am I attracting the right things now, but even previous existing relationships, I've seen those transform.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Absolutely.
I didn't even have to do nothing.
That's right. But show up as myself. Show up as myself.
And I was having a conversation with my partner yesterday that was more so like in the realm of like my startup life, right? And I was saying, you know, I'm so looking forward to just focusing on one thing, right? I want to focus and give my all to my venture, because even before I had the pre-launch, I'm telling you, I gave myself some time for a semester. I took a semester off, and I said, I'm just focusing on myself. And it started to become a habit, because even in 2019, December of 2019, I took a sabbatical. I didn't do anything. I let all of my consultant clients know, like, I'm taking a break, y'all. Like, this is what's happening. So last year in the fall, I took a break, and I just set myself, and I was doing research and, you know, really just formulating how I felt about my startup, how I felt about ownership, how I wanted other people to feel as a result of being a part of my team or being an investor. And I'm telling you, people just came. Like literally, I didn't have to do anything. And you know, it's really kind of going back to that power of speech and the power of word that we have. People were just like, oh, what are you doing? What are you working on? Well, I have this idea. What's the idea? And they were just kind of like, okay, well, I can bring this resource or I know this person. And I'm not just talking about like connecting the dots. I'm talking about heavy hitting organizations and people. And so when you talk about these relationships and how it starts with us first, I'm working even more so now because I've seen the results of it. Like, how can I continue to like cleanse and purify? Actually, somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, I was like, my job is to stay pure and to stay clear. That's my job. Clarity. That's my job. That's all I need to do right now. I don't need to worry about what's happening, when at what point. None of it.
And that power of vision too.
As long as I can stay clear.
Yes, on your vision.
As long as I can stay clear and my intentions stay pure, then I don't have to worry about anything. And I'm seeing the result of what you're talking about.
What's really encouraging is that so for CarpeDM, we interview every person that wants to join our community, right? And we ask them, like, how ready are you for a relationship? How ready are you for something meaningful? What is one thing that your future partner must know about you in order for your relationship to work? And I'm telling you, probably 7 times out of 10, men and women say that they have to have done the self-work because I have. And so I feel like there's a great shift in our culture where we're doing therapy, we're doing the support, we're getting the coaching, like we're having those conversations with ourselves, with our families, with our friends. And I'm super surprised every time because people are like, oh, I'm in therapy and I would need my partner to either have been in therapy or be on a journey of self-awareness, or I'm doing the self-work. I need someone that supports that and is doing the self-work themselves. And so when you guys are talking about like that clarity and like getting clear and understanding and like opening yourself up and making space for all the positivity come in, I feel like there's a big shift in our culture that like people are tuning into that and leaning into it and moving the stigma from focusing on ourselves. And we're giving ourselves the space to not just have to survive every day, right? Like, what does it look like when you're not just in survivor mode every day? When you're in like thriving, when you're planning, when you're like visioning, and like, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm really happy for you guys to be able to
you
say
got
that.
a whole book from those interviews.
A whole book. I tell people all the time, being a matchmaker, when I go into like spaces and introducing yourself, and a lot of times I don't tell people I'm an attorney. I'd say like I'm a professional matchmaker, and the things people tell you. That's the title right there. Tell you. Confessions of a Professional Matchmaker. That's it. I'm just like, okay. People are just waiting. But it also makes me realize that people don't have the space to have real conversations with people in their lives, or they haven't hired that person to have that real conversation with, because I'm like, I'm a stranger, but do you want to have this conversation with me right now? And so, but I think that it's a beautiful thing that we are doing more of that, and it's a needed. And I feel like we should continue to encourage each other to do that.
This culture started back, and I hate to keep referring back to slavery, but it was a survival period, survival mode. A lot of us came from broken homes, and it's not a bad thing that some of us come from broken homes, but we didn't have all of those resources that you're talking about, which is a great thing. I like that things are shifting, and even when I was a young dater or whatever, I was so pressed on how I'm going to take care of Trina. I don't want her without. She had designer stuff on. I mean, she was like well kept, but I didn't focus on anything but other than survival. So I wish I had have been there, but I didn't really get there until I got in my 40s. And I'm thinking like, God, why couldn't I got there earlier when I was younger? But I'm still good, I'm still good. But I'm glad things are changing, but it was a survival thing, like how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take care of my children, being a single mother or single dad or something like that. So I think that had a lot to do with things too, how we thought about ourselves, the things that we need to do in order to take care of ourselves. So, but I
wanted to ask you a question. There's been a lot of talk about this, and maybe some of you ladies can share. Like, are men becoming more feminized in this culture? Because a lot of talk about that right now.
Like those
Anybody
shorts.
What's up with those shorts?
Just the whole. There's a lot of talk that a lot of complaints now. Women are saying that there's not enough masculine energy. And there's almost like a reversal where the women are becoming more masculine and the men are becoming more feminized. Is there any truth to that? Anyone have any opinions about that?
No, and maybe this is not a popular opinion, but I think people are coming more into themselves. And for me, if you're being true and your authentic self, I'm here for that. I'm here to support that. And if a man is feminine and that's not for me, then I'm not going to be with that person. But I am 100% here for people owning, loving, and knowing exactly who they are. So that may not.
I think that, I mean, I completely agree. And part of the conversation, I don't think that we can have this conversation without first setting the precedent that everything has both masculine and feminine energy.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Everything.
Yes.
And so to your point, like, we're all coming into our own and discovering what that looks like, and maybe down the line there may be a different integration of what that looks like. And then also, just like there can be toxic masculinity, there can be toxic feminine energy. And I've seen that in my experience. I've experienced that myself, and that's part of my healing journey too.
Yes.
You know?
What does that look like, toxic femininity?
So how I've experienced it is just the overtly nurturing, maybe, and I think it can manifest in different ways. And I am by no means a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I can speak from my experience. Just wanting to overly nurture, and not everybody is asking for what maybe I could be giving at that moment. So part of my healing journey is just softening and returning that. The neutrality of my femininity back to myself, and letting, kind of growing up in that space for myself.
Yeah, I agree with you with that, because I was just having this conversation last night with a gentleman I was talking to, and he was saying that women today have become more masculine. But I said it's because we have been put in a position, like you said, all the way back to slavery, of that survival mode where we had to use that energy to work and to survive, and it's hard sometimes for a woman to take off that masculine hat and then all of a sudden become feminine and use all that feminine energy when you've been out there fighting.
I've seen, to your point, Lovey, my dating experience, which also could be a book, a miniseries. You got your book too. It's been a lot of things. All the volumes. Right. Chapter 1 through 4. But to speak to this healing journey, and I am super pleased to see so many more Black men being committed to that healing journey. Yes. To your question about feminine toxicity, I have come across a number of Black men who historically have not dated Black women because of traumas inflicted by their mothers, grandmothers, aunts, right? And I can think of a handful of particular instances of, my grandmother raised my mother as a single mom. My mother was raising us as a single mom, and so in some instances, as the only male in the household, they very much felt like I'm the hated one, because what they're overhearing is grandma and mom advising sister, protect your heart, make your own money, don't deal with these men, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think I think my journey has been unique in that I have, particularly in my 20s, come across, we're not there anymore, please God, have come across a number of men who immediately change their posture when they come into the knowledge that I came from a two-parent household. Yep. Or 1 second, my daddy's calling, right? They're like, wait a minute, you got a daddy, right? And so there are, I think some men see that as, you're gonna be looking for something that I don't have to give, or I didn't have this exact.
That's
what you are looking for a high standard because your father set that standard.
I'm blessed to have exceptional black men in my life, and so I recognize that for a man to step into this, if he hasn't seen it or sought after it,
that's right.
It will look extremely intimidating. Not to mention,
there you go,
as a retired Marine. But I always say, it's my mama you need to be worried about.
That's right.
But I have noticed how quickly a conversation may be looking all right, and then when it's like, oh, well, what did you do? You know, what's something fun you engaged in over the summer? Like, oh, yeah, a family reunion. Everybody was there, right? And so I think for a lot of black men, if that has not been their experience, even if they think they want to pursue that, they're not really sure what it looks like or how they can fit into that equation. And so I think that presents some unique hurdles, and if they're not committed to this healing journey of helping them understand historically, what does my lineage look like? Why does it look that way? And what am I prepared to do to change it? Right? It becomes sticky, I think, when we start looking at male and female dynamics.
That's the whole conversation.
Right.
Yes.
Come on, somebody.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about entertainment. What's going on in the media? And the reason why I wanted to talk about that because you discussed unpacked a lot of stuff there, and I wanted to talk about Will Smith and Jada only because I just saw a podcast with her, and she was talking about her self-healing and everything. It was quite profound, actually. But she had said a lot of things back in 2020, so this was an old reel, but I was wondering about that because of what had transpired at the Oscars. So I'm going to go straight to Trina and say, do you believe she has alopecia?
That is interesting, for the Jews. I do believe she has alopecia. What happened at the Oscars, though, I think that he Will over-exaggerated things when it came to how he approached Chris Rock. I think that they had been dealing with this for a while. From what I understand, her daughter had encouraged her to get Jada to shave her head because she's been going through this for a while. So I think it's very, it's very, what word am I looking for? It's sensitive to the both of them, but I think that they have been dealing with some things with Chris Rock in the past as to why he took it above and beyond. I don't think the alopecia was the the biggest problem there.
Is that a question? Like you asked, do we think that is there like some rumor that she really doesn't have alopecia?
Yes, it's a big thing going on
that they don't believe she really has alopecia.
Believe that she really didn't have alopecia.
She's been enjoying these storms all this time.
So a lot of people say that. I've heard all this stuff, and doctors come and say, well, real alopecia is this and that, and then they start showing different patients and stuff, and saying would be more spots and smooth spots and blah blah blah.
I think they're
different types of alopecia.
And
I'm like, that's a very weird thing to
Yeah.
do.
But I think they do that to the celebrities all the time. Question.
And as a black woman, why is she being scrutinized?
Exactly. And I asked Trina because you're rocking that hairstyle. You're looking fabulous.
Well, I have to jump in and don't punch me on the arm. But I'm a hair person, and we had like this. My mother used to call it bongo hair, real thick. One quadrant, we part it in fours, it'd be thick enough for one person's head. And so my mother had a nice grade of hair. She grew our hair. And so I tell you, when she took her new transition to a new look, it took a while to get used to, but she's into her own self. I'm not her. Right. So therefore, I love her no matter what, as long as she's being the better her. But getting back to Will Smith's situation in the entertainment business, I look at it both ways. When they first started posting stuff on Facebook and it first came out, I was like, oh, Will, yeah, you took up for your woman, yeah. But when I heard more of the story, I did not. I was kind of neutral because there's two ways I look at it. Okay, number one, as a person, as a director, producer, whatever, and African American, it's hard enough for us to establish ourselves. We're still trying to be known and try to get our rightful place in this industry. And so if you have a problem, here it is, two black men. Will Smith, he wasn't an agitator, but supposedly assaulted him. It was a better way to handle that. So weak-minded people, not people who know human life, they could say, yeah, well, all of them like that, they all, all drama. It put a dent, because we're working so hard trying to get our films seen, to get our rightful place, at the table. And for him to get up and do it so openly like that, then, I was really ticked off. I really didn't like it. I'm all for him standing up for his woman, but it could have been better done than the way he did it. Now, as far as Jada, I don't have a reason why I should doubt her about her hair. And women, and we as sisters, this is a very sensitive thing anyway about hair. Somebody made an off-colored joke, so to speak, about, well, why didn't she just put a wig on? I mean, yeah, it was this comedian. Wow. What's his name? I don't know. But anyway, he said, well, she just could have threw a wig on. I just thought that was very inappropriate. So that was a sore spot. So for me, like I said, it was different ways I looked at the whole situation. But me, as being a director and producer, I just think it was a hit. I felt personally he shouldn't have did that on the open stage. He could have handled his situation, his business differently.
I feel like is it hard to just say Will was wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as a culture, two things can be true. We love Will Smith.
Yes.
Like, he's done so much for the culture.
Yes.
It can also be true that he was dead wrong,
Absolutely.
right? Like, he shouldn't have gotten up there and slapped Chris Rock. Period. I don't care if it was on TV. I don't care if this was a private moment. I don't care. Like, you should never be putting your hands on another person at all. There's always another way to handle it. So he can be loved and wrong because that's the nature of being human, right? At the same time, they're clearly unpacking a whole lot of stuff. Will is unpacking a whole lot of stuff. We've seen interviews that have come up since then about him feeling, industry treating like he's soft or like, they can do anything to him. So I'm sure that this is just the culmination of a career full of microaggressions or macroaggressions against him as a person. And this is a breaking point. No one is human. And so do I still love Will Smith? I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still watch his movies. I still want him to be successful.
I still want him to keep his Oscar.
Yeah, I want him to keep his Oscar. I feel like all the good that he's done and all that he's put up has really outweighed like this horrible moment that like we just all happen to be able to see, but simultaneously can definitely say that he was wrong.
Absolutely.
And everybody has their breaking points. He's been going through that. What is that entanglement they kept talking about? All of that stuff. But I also think like why does she have to explain her condition? If he why does she have to say, well, I cut my hair because I had alopecia? That's not. I mean that. You don't even have to explain why you're rocking a certain look. That's what you want to do.
And I was disappointed. I'm sorry, boo. You done? But I wanted to say, did you all look at the show, the Academy show, or all of it? Okay. But for some of those, I'll just give you a little bit. When it came on, it was just awesome. Beyonce, I love her. She was just the queen she was, and she had this creative ensemble of black women, young girls, and they were dancing. So it was beautiful. And I was so proud because I love Beyonce, and it was just beautiful. And then they had this Serena and was it Venus? And so it was a build-up because Will, he was going to get the award. And so it was a build-up for that. And for Will to turn around and get up there and do that, I'm thinking like, I want to remember the good stuff. You up there representing those two sisters. And it was just, it kind of broke my heart when that happened,
Yeah, that was a sad moment. I feel bad for both of them, actually. But do you feel like black women, why are we always pointed out for our hair? Like, why is that such a big deal for
Oh, like, why
Black
was the
women?
joke made to
Yeah,
begin with?
like, because, you know, first they tried to blame Jada, which had nothing to do with his behavior, basically. You know, he made that decision on his own. You know, but again, we as Black women, we are sometimes looked upon for our hair. I've tested it. I have literally went out and had like kind of like Afro style hair and go in stores versus straight hair and be treated differently. Why do we always get treated differently for our hairstyle and no one else? No other race seems to have that.
I think it's the versatility. A documentary on that.
Right.
Good
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting about that. Well, you know what? I'm getting signs that I got to wrap up, unfortunately. So I'm going to ask everybody. I'm going to start with you about what's on your bucket list.
My bucket list is, the top piece of my bucket list is raising $30 million.
Okay, now.
2 weeks after I graduate, I'm going to start a road show and raising this $30 million from folks that look like us, accredited investors of color. That's the top thing on my list, and the plan is to do it in record timing.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you. What about you, Marissa?
Bucket list. That's tough. I've never been asked this.
Me either. I'm thinking about it.
I would say what I would want to achieve would be to be able to reach people with media on a national platform. And I think I'm probably closer to that than I've ever been. So I do have some solace when you've worked so hard. So that would be on the bucket list.
Love it.
Turn
on all the
husband to share.
Write it down, make it make it plain. Yes.
My bucket list goal achievement, you know what I dream about is the first CarpeDM baby. Like all the time. I think about that. That I want that to come from like a couple that met, that courted, that got married. The first CarpeDM baby. And they courted, they get married, and they have the first CarpeDM.
What if it's your baby?
Could be.
Yeah.
The realm of possibility, not as close to actual, but possible for sure. Yeah.
And you, Debra?
I'm like I said, I'm new in the business. To establish Queen Productions, that's the name of my business. To have a team where we are doing really strong social change documentaries, putting a little dent in this planet to teach each other about each other's cultures and make things just a little bit better. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes.
With me, I like constantly try to evolve, and with my movers and shakers, I want to take it to a higher level and take it to other cities, well-known cities all over the world, and bring it to TV and make it a positive show showing entrepreneurs doing their thing. And that's what I would like. I wanted to start it in the DMV and then have it grow all over Atlanta, LA. I mean, I'm not a film person like she is, but that's just kind of like my dream. To do that.
Well, I can't get you to CarpeDM. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to pray on that one. I would say that at the top of my bucket list is to reclaim and establish Black equity and inclusion in the hospitality space.
Oh, I'm coming.
When I think about as Angela Rye likes to say, who built this joint? I think about the first caterers, right? We created that entire industry. When I think about who owned and operated the first boarding houses. I want to get us back there so that it's not surprising when we see someone that looks like us in a leadership or ownership role.
Nice.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Well, she has given me a new dream. Sitting next to her. I mean, I'm being dead serious.
Yes.
So I want to build wealth.
Yes.
So part of building wealth is diversifying my
Yes.
portfolio.
Yes.
So I appreciate meeting all of you all, but I appreciate you just opening my mind to other opportunities in building wealth. I want to also build my business. So build and grow my business is on my bucket list. And you know, for my family, I want to do the same thing that I'm doing for my business. I'm helping my children to become their best selves.
Yes.
So helping to build them and to grow them into who they're supposed to be. And then ultimately, you know, giving back. I think that's a large part of what we all do.
Yeah, when we give
But
back.
as I grow my capacity to build wealth and grow my business, I'm able to give more. And then I'm also really seeking education. So I mean, I did get my PhD, but I have never been educated in business. So I want to go to Harvard. I mean, so that's on my bucket list. Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, what gems would you drop for the world today?
Ooh, I would say I'm on this journey of learning and growing and being my best self. And I think that's the journey that we're all on. And I was just, my kids, I was giving them a speech on your path is your path and don't look left or right. This is what I'm called to do and this is where I'm going to make my impact. But it's incumbent on you to figure out what it is that God brought you here to do.
Absolutely.
And so that's the gem I'll leave. They'll laugh at that.
How can people connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I need to do better with Instagram, and I'm not even really on Instagram. I'm only on there to look at what they're doing. So I think I posted twice on Instagram. I am on Facebook, so if you want to connect with me on Facebook. But professionally, I would say LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn.
Okay, so I'm going to go back this way and then come back full circle. What gems would you like to drop with the world today?
So I was recently asked this question, so I feel a bit more prepared. My late uncle, the Reverend R.D. Tanner, Sr. of New Orleans, Louisiana, always said, "Do it now." And so in my travels, when I come across particularly folks that look like us, we know what God's put on our heart. We know what the assignment is, but we are quick to identify, let me wait until after I have these kids, let me wait until I finish this, let me think about it a little bit more, let me pray on it again, right? But we already know what the direction is. And so that's the gem that I would drop, is to do it now, right? And just start being intentional about identifying what next steps need to happen.
And how can people get in touch with you and reach you?
Oh, well, they can find me in the streets. No. Not really.
You need to put comedian on it.
Folks can find me, of course, on LinkedIn. I think it's LinkedIn/in/it's Ashli Johnson, ITS Ashli Johnson, and it's the same handle. On Instagram, and find me up on Howard's campus.
For my gems, I'm just going to say, do what's in your heart. Don't ever allow anybody to tell you what you can't do or imply that you can't do, or something's a pipe dream or anything like that. Have the courage to just move forward and do it.
Thank you.
Love that.
And how can you be reached?
IG, Facebook, under Trina Love, LinkedIn as well.
I love that.
Yes, that's my handle. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Debra, Queen Debra.
We think so much alike. Just continue. I'm going to steal a little bit of yours. That self-cleaning. Do that positive talk. Do the things that you fear. If you feel like, I don't know whether I'm qualified, I can do that, or smart enough, or whatever, do it. And if you get your toe wet and it's you feel that, wow, I shouldn't have did it, then that's okay. Regroup, get back on, do it again. Don't stop. Because I used to do a lot of self-talk, like, I don't know whether I can do it. you know, me being a black woman, am I a filmmaker? Who do I think I am? Well, why not? Why not? Why can't I? You know?
Yes.
Hey, do it. Yeah. I have a Instagram, which I really don't use, but I have a Facebook, I have a LinkedIn, and I have a website.
Okay.
Yes. So that's. I have some. No, these don't laugh at these little cards here, but I have some cards if anybody's interested, because I'm going to be looking for some of these queens. My present film I'm working on is Exceptional Crowns, and so that's why one of the reasons I'm rocking my hat. So this is my crown, and so I might want to say, hey, you want to be in my film? So yeah, you can reach me, on one of these modes. I'll give you a card if you're interested.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Next.
So I just wanted to share that this is my screensaver. I don't know if you can see it.
No. Okay.
It says it's not now.
I love it.
It just resonated with me. I look at it every day because I always feel like there's so much power in now.
Yes.
My gym, I don't know if it's a gym, but something that I always think about and I believe is what's meant for you will be yours. It's already yours, right? And so no one else can take what's meant for you, and it's very hard in startup world, building a business, career. You think that you're too late, you're too early, like you're not getting what you want. You see other people getting things that you're not getting, right? But all comes in time, right? If everything that is meant to be for you will be yours, if you're putting in the work, you're showing up and you're on the path that's actually meant for you, right? A lot of times people aren't getting what they believe they deserve because they're on the wrong path anyway, right? They're following somebody else's dream. They're following what society tells them that they should be doing instead of what their heart and their passions tell them. And when they actually get on their path, they see how clear it is, right, to reach their goals. So that would be my tidbit. And then also, I'm heavy on social media. So your girl is on there. Hit me up. I respond. You can definitely slide into my DMs. So my IG is Carpe, the letter D, the letter M, boss. CarpeDM Dating is the professional IG on our website, CarpeDMDating.com. The company is CarpeDM Dating across everything. I'm also on LinkedIn at Naza-Shelley, and I love to connect with people, so please do reach out.
Thank you so much.
Great gems. I would probably have to go with one that I've been thinking about recently, but just because you're not featured, it doesn't mean you're not favored.
That'll preach on a Sunday. That's good. Because it is true. Everything you want, it's on the other side of a comfort zone. It's on the other side of even what you see. And from my own personal experience, I moved here 2 years ago in a pandemic because I was denied an opportunity at my previous station in my hometown. And so it took a lot for me to pick up my entire life and start over. There were so many things I wanted to do, I never really got the chance to do. And so I kind of stepped out there, and I'm proud to say 4 weeks ago I won my first Emmy. For best host in the DMV. People look at that and it looks like, oh gosh, it happened overnight. But I always knew I could host. I just had to step out of my comfort zone to get the opportunity to do it. And God kind of put it on my heart that all of those years I was working as the B anchor or behind the scenes. He was preparing me for that stage so that when I stepped on there, I would be ready to shine. So to your point, everything comes when it's supposed to come in the right season to the person it's supposed to be. And everything will ultimately be all right. So all you have to do is prepare so that when it comes, you rock it. Get ready. Stay ready.
Is the mother of success.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Yes, that's awesome.
I'm done. Marissa Mitchell. It's the same. Mitchell, no vowels, on TikTok, Instagram, and then I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have two. So one is that I'm working on living by every day is quality over quantity. So I've previously had this habit of literally having to do everything. So I like to call myself a recovering event planner, right? So planning events, producing things like that, it's like you literally have to have your hand in every single logistic in order for it to go well. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. You know, kind of stepping more into the vision side of things and staying focused on that. So quality over quantity, and then through one of my grandmother's passing, which was a phenomenal experience because I learned so much from it. But long story short, do it your way. Yes. She was sick for such a long time and did not tell not a one person, but in the meanwhile, she bought a brand new car, was still driving at 89, and redid her kitchen and all of these things. And even through her actual passing, how everything matriculated, she said, I'm doing this on my terms. So if but nothing else, I got that from her passing. So doing it my way, which is more quality over quantity. So
thank you.
That was wonderful. That was
social of choice is LinkedIn. I have an Instagram account, but I'm not really on Instagram. But you might see me in passing. LinkedIn, right? You might catch me during the family reunion. But so on Instagram, I'm s.lovey_evolved, which is the name of my company. And then on LinkedIn, I am IN/SLOVEYP or SLOVEY. Yes, that's the correct one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Did we drop some gems today? Okay. Wow. You know, I want to say something that for me, this is like another chance because, and I don't want to get on because God always said, only testify when I tell you. Okay, God. Okay. But you know, many years ago when I was a young girl, I came down with lupus. And so I did, you know, being the type of child that I am, I did a lot of research on that and found that you don't have a long life expectancy because my neighbor next door actually passed from it, which was very close to the family, you know. And I remember going to church and not telling my parents. I went with my boyfriend, who I later married, I went to the altar just out of faith. And they just said, just put your hands up, just keep saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I did it. And when I got home, I had to go back for my blood tests and everything. And the doctor said, we don't see any lupus.
My God.
We don't see any lupus. What are you and me, being miseducated in lupus, said, what are you talking about? It would still be in the bloodstream. And he says, well, it's not there. And then he broke it down to me, you know. So they kept me in the hospital for a week. And they still weren't able to find anything, you know. And that was when I realized I had a responsibility to the world and to myself. You know, even though I was young, I realized that and I thought, I said, wow, God, now what do I do? And I did get married and had my children, and I enjoyed my life to the fullest. I traveled the world. My ex is one of the VPs of Wells Fargo. I mean, I met him in college. Well, actually met him in high school. But I wasn't really happy, even though I had everything. And I kept saying to him, there's something God wants me to do, but you're just saying that, you know, you always saying that. But I kept feeling that, and that's what it is. You get the nudge, that tap on the shoulder, that he's telling you there's something else, you have a purpose. And then later on, when I got divorced and I got very active in my church, got very active because I love being active anyway and serving. I love serving and making people happy. And they said, you know, everyone in the classroom had the Bible study, had to pass around a card what they thought each person was. And they kept calling me Martha Stewart, Black Martha Stewart, because I love serving and decorating and all that stuff, you know. And so I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, you know. But then later on, my sister called me and says, you know, God says that because she's a minister, she said, you are supposed to speak. And I started having dreams of me speaking to a lot of people all the time. But then I would get this logic saying, that's just something that you want to do. That's not real. And that's always that other voice, you know, that negative voice, you know. I said, and I just kind of like brushed it to the side, but it kept coming back to me. And so she said, well, just because you speak to people and inspire people doesn't mean it will be in a church. And then that's when it was like that kind of aha moment, you know. And so later on, you know, fast forward, I'm locked down, reflection, you know. I get this call, and it was Ron Hamilton, and we started talking. And he says, you know, why don't we do the morning show? And I was like, okay. And then when I started doing, he says, you act like it's a natural for you. It doesn't seem to make you uncomfortable. And I said, no, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. He says, you should do Queen's Court Conversation. I said, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'll just do the morning show. You know. And then God spoke to me and says, you should call it Lorraine and Moi. And I said, Lorraine and Moi? Because first I said, well, let me Google that. And it says, the Queen in Me. So I actually was going to say the Queen in Me. Being stubborn, I wouldn't got my LLC on, the Queen in Me. And then they sent me a letter back saying, no, you can't have it. No, someone else has something too close and similar to yours. You know, so I said, well, God, what should I do? He says, I said, say Lorraine and Moi. And I said, well, what is that? And in the Google it said it's French. So it's listening to that voice. You know, because I don't speak French. And God said, I want you to call it Lorraine and Moi, which means the Queen in Me, which means that, like everyone's talking about self-care, inner peace, talking about feeling that loving yourself and finding your purpose and all of those things. And that's what Lorraine and Moi is. And that is my brand. And that's only because we all are following our journey. And I always say, get excited about your journey, because if you're still here, that means you got things to do. You know? So I just want to say thank you to everyone here. I really appreciate you so much. I appreciate you, and I feel the love and the energy in this room. And everyone, if you're watching, it's going to be on YouTube. You're going to get some real good gems just to put in your pocket and let it resonate in your spirit. So this is Queen's Court Conversations. I thank you, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.